welcome to another Facebook Live. Today's guest is a former international trainer with Tony Robbins. You got that right. I did say Tony Robbins. He's been in the real estate business since 2003. He's a national sales trainer with Movement Mortgage, a founder of the Mortgage Marketing Institute, and he's the host of the podcast Mortgage Marketing Radio, which has over 500,000 downloads. He's also the author of Disrupt or Die, How to Survive and Thrive in the Digital Real Estate Shift. Welcome to today's Facebook Live, Geoff Zimpfer.
Thank you so much. What? You guys have a studio audience here? Awesome. What a fantastic intro. I think that's the best I've ever heard. So thank you so much. Great to be here.
I am really excited to be here with you today. The past, year plus a little bit, we've been in an interesting market where people have been, hitting record volume levels. They've been bringing in a lot of transactions, and we're about to kind of go through a shift in the market. I think that it's already happening. We don't know if the Fed's going to start cutting their asset purchases, which in turn would likely lead to an increased rate environment. And we can't wait for the market to slow down for us to start to scramble and try and find referral partners. So I want to thank you for taking time with us today to connect and talk about how we can build those referral relationships.
Yep.
And the place that I want to start with this first is before we start talking about how to land new referral partnerships, what about the referral relationships that people already have? What can you say to the people that they already have these referral connections, but they're slightly discouraged because that referral partner is not sending them as much business as they would like?
Interesting. That's a good question to open up with. I think, whenever we talk about referral partners, let's say realtors specifically, because that tends to be the largest population of referral partners. So let's just say for today, we're going to focus on realtors. Obviously, there's others. But to your question about that, I'm not getting enough business from my realtor partners. Wow, that's a loaded question. We could do the whole session on that. I think I sum it up three ways, basically, I believe. So if you're not getting, quote, enough or any referrals from your partners, I think the first place to look is at yourself, number one, right? Because I think too often we as loan officers, especially if you've been around a long time, you get jaded, you get maybe a little agitated because realtors can be difficult to work with. They can be challenging. And so what we tend to do is look outside of us, right? We tend to complain about, I'm not getting enough of this, right? And stomping our feet like a little tantrum. And I think that's a little bit of a telltale sign to maybe, take a pause, check yourself before you wreck yourself, as they say, and say, am I not getting enough referrals? Does that have to do with me? Like, am I not adding enough value? Am I not creating enough compelling reasons for people to send me referrals more consistently or more of their business? Or is it, am I just working with the wrong realtors, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's really a combination of both. Number one, I do find that, you jump in the thread and the Facebook and all that, you'll see people mouthing off and complaining and bitching about realtors all the time, right? Okay, great. So they're an easy scapegoat to do that. And yes, I understand. However, I think you get what you tolerate. So what are you willing to tolerate? Are you willing to tolerate working with lesser quality agents and you're getting those lousy referrals that they just flip over the fence? Well, if that's how you're getting those referrals, I'm sorry, but that's on you, Mm-hmm. So first and foremost, evaluate yourself. When's the last time you poured value into your relationships? Because it is a relationship, and loan officers, we always play the game. The refi boom, we're all going to do the refis. We're leaving our realtors in the dust, and then come back and everybody shows back up on their doorstep. Hey, what's up? Right? Here to help. Well, they hate that, right? They're tired of that. So it's either you got the wrong attitude and mindset or you got the wrong relationships, right? So either realtors don't have the business to send you, or they're already loyal to somebody else. Maybe they're sleeping with their lender. I don't know, right? Whatever, they're married to it. And maybe it's just the wrong fit. And so that's why I'm now putting a stake in the ground and saying, to your point earlier about the timing of this, I don't think building referral relationships is one and done. I don't think we just do it and we're like, okay, good, I got my 6th referral. No, it's a moving parade. It's a constant influx thing like any relationship. And so it needs that care and nurturing. Hopefully that's somewhat helpful.
That is helpful. I want to break it down a little bit more. So You and I both, we travel around, we speak to different groups of people, real estate agents, loan originators. And oftentimes when I'm speaking in front of loan originators, talking about specifically providing value to their referral partners, it's not it's hard for ones that are newer in the space to know what that value is that they bring. If you're a seasoned vet in this area, you kind of know essentially, but when you're new, it can be challenging to figure out what value you might bring. So how do you help people determine that value?
Another great question. You're doing awesome out of the park today. Thank you. How do you determine what value I think the value varies based on the individual, like what are their specific needs. I mean, I look at myself when I'm meeting a real estate agent. First of all, I show up really curious. I set aside any agenda for selling, right? And what I want to show up is be really curious and learn about that person. Where are they at in their career? What are their needs, wants, struggles, issues? What do they like to do? What are their passions and all that? I'm focused on building a relationship. And if you first of all come at it from that angle instead of selling, you're going to do better, right? You'll be more successful in lowering the barrier and building the trust. And that's why you want to show up curious, because that's how you're going to get to the answer of what's the value I bring. Because the value for Megan's going to be different than the value for Bill over at RE/MAX, because you're going to be in a different place in your business. Maybe you are looking to put a CRM in place. Maybe Bill over there is looking for, hey, how do I get better at social media? And what I just said right there is a foreign concept for a lot of LOs when they're like, wait a minute, I'm not a marketing coach. I'm not here to help realtors do this. I'm here to close loans. And I would say, yes, that is 100% true. That is the first metric by which you'll probably be measured. When you engage in the dance, you got to perform, right? But here's the challenge. And I think we're all realizing this now after many, many years is that's not enough. Literally anyone can close a loan, right? And there's a few other competitors around for them to choose from. So if your whole worth or value is based on I close on time or I close in 21 days and less surprises and great rates and all that, we know that's not enough anymore. So that's why I'm a big proponent of what can you bring? And you find out what you can bring by having a conversation. And I will tell you this, more often than not, it comes back to helping them with their business, right?
I love that you spoke to that you don't come at it from a point of selling, because that also kind of goes with the second part of this question that you answered in gaining a better idea about, does this real estate agent even have business to send me? What type of agent is this? Do you have any kind of specific questions that you would ask them in particular to uncover what type of agent this is?
To uncover what kind of agent this is. Yes. I do think we have to also be protective of our time. I don't want to waste time with some low producing bottom feeder who, isn't ever going to rise up. Because let's face it, there are those agents out there. And so I think we need a mechanism to be able to sift and sort and qualify, the potential of those relationships. So if you're meeting with an agent, again, back to the curiosity thing, I would just start from, let's say you're meeting forget that they're a real estate agent for a moment. Right? Like if I was just meeting you, Megan, and let's assume you're a real estate agent. What's up? Okay, Megan, so what's up? So, hey, thanks for taking time here today. And I may want to put a little of the scripting on of, say something like, hey, Megan, I just want to state right out of the gate, I'm not here to talk about doing loans or selling you or trying to get your business or anything like that. I just want to learn about you. Right? And all of a sudden you say that, people are like, oh, wow. Okay, cool. So no high pressure. And then they're like, so Megan, when did you get in real estate? Right? Oh, 8 years ago. Cool. Why? Why'd you choose real estate? What about it? Right? And then I'm going to learn more about what led you to real estate. And then I'm going to go, okay, great. So give me a sense of who do you really like to work with? Oh, I like to work with these types of people or first time home buyers or whatever. Okay, cool. So why them? Why is that? And then you may hear this story that you would have never heard or known before. Right? Okay, so Megan, so you're 8 years in, and eventually you get to the question of, so how's it going? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you could say it hey, what'd you do last year for transactions? Or you could say, so how's it going? What have you done? I want to get to the question of what have they done for volume, transaction wise? But there's a way to say that with a little bit more finesse, perhaps. But it'll vary based on the person. If they're a little bit more direct oriented, and you'll be able to tell by their personality, it's hey, let's just get right to it. Great. So here's why we're here today is I'd like to understand, how I can better serve you if we have the potential of a partnership. One of the ways I do that is understanding where you've been in business, how you've done, and where you want to go. So Megan, what did you do last year for transactions? Okay. I did 17. Cool. And And how do you feel about that? What do you want to do this year? You get where I'm going? It's just like, okay, great. Well, I want to do 25. Here's one question I always ask. What's your main source of business? Right? Because that's going to reveal to me quite a lot. And I would just say, keep unpacking, keep going deeper, be curious, be Sherlock Holmes, and just be like curious. Why? Okay, so what about that? So tell me more, right? Collect information, collect data, because what we're looking for, if you do the old metaphor of like the doctor with the lab coat on and you got your clipboard out, you're trying to find out where it hurts, well, I hurt my knee. Well, what were you doing before you hurt your knee? All right. So I want to learn what led up to why they even, first of all, they met with you. Yeah. That tells you something right off the bat. Okay, let's set the jokes aside right now. Yes, they're desperate for a lunch or just want a free ride or whatever. Okay, let's assume that's not the case. But again, just be naturally curious. So all right, where'd you do in business? Where do you want to go? What's your main source of business? How would you rank yourself on, social media? How do you feel about social media? How do you feel about digital marketing? So those open-ended type questions, because I want to get a sense of where they are, psychology-wise. And then the goal is to come out of that meeting with a sense of, right, who they are, what they want to do career-wise. Is there a values match? Right? Because if they're a tool, then forget it. You're going to shake your hand and say, thanks a lot. I'll be in touch and follow up. And then you do that cursory, dismissal email. But if you think there's some value there and you think you've got a really good synergy, then you can be like, you know what, Megan, thank you so much for sharing today. I've really learned a lot about you. First of all, congratulations on your decision and blah, 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 blah. And here's what I heard you say. I heard you say that, you'd like to do 24 transactions this year versus the 17 you did last year. Your main source of business right now is sphere of influence, but you'd really like to level up like your Instagram game. Am I, you know what I'm saying? Are we on the same page? Yeah. Okay, great. Well, Megan, I think I've got a couple of ideas that might be able to help you in that direction. So would it be okay if we circle back in 2 weeks and I can share some things with you that might be helpful in that direction? Would that be okay? She's going to be like, yeah, of course it's okay. Now, if you want to get really good, book that appointment right there. Right there. Great, Megan. You said 2 weeks. Let's get out our calendars. You're busy. I'm busy. How you doing on the 12th of September at 2 p.m.? We can meet right back here. Okay, cool. And then what's your job between that time? Your job is to go find solutions that will help her. I don't care if you go to YouTube, you go to various websites, you go to Google, you get PDFs, videos, downloads, right? Whatever. And you start sending her stuff leading up to that next appointment. I'm a big believer, unless you can fast track that whole trust relationship thing, like the ask doesn't come before the value.
100%. Another thing I want to point out too, that I just think would be extremely helpful during all of this, and you probably feel the same way, is make sure you have a pen and paper, because as they're writing these down, I think that it's important to take notes, because as you mentioned at the end, you kind of recap it back to them and get them to say yes.
Right.
So I think that having notes would be extremely helpful.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I've heard LOs in the past say, well, it seems awkward to want to take notes. I'm like, no, it doesn't, right? Especially if you frame it the right way. You're like, so this is what I would do. Hey, Megan, if you don't mind, right, I'd like to take some notes today and write down some of what we've talked about so I can reference that. You know what I mean? Or just be honest. Hey.
People love that. I think that they feel a little bit honored. This person cares about me enough that they want to make sure that we address everything that's talked about today. So they want to take notes on me.
100%. 100%. Love it. Let's keep going.
Yes, let's talk a little bit, because before we got, kind of in between this question that we just answered, you mentioned, today we're focusing on real estate agents, but briefly, let's kind of talk about the different types of referral partners and why we want to focus specifically here today on referral partnerships, real estate agents.
Can I do a screen share? Would that be cool and interactive?
Yeah.
Everybody? All right, let me try this. Here we go. Let's do a little screen share. I think that's a great question as well, because it goes back to the whoops. Here we go. Come on, slides. Work with me. Let me go into presentation mode. Okay, so why real estate agents? Great question. There are other referral partners we could go after, and they all have their potential place and relevancy. But let me answer the question of why real estate agents. According to the NAR, in 2020, 5.6 million homes were sold. 5.6 million homes, right? 89% of people who purchased a home used a real estate agent. By the way, if you notice in the text, that share has steadily increased from 69% back in 2001. So folks, 5.6 million homes, 90% of the people are using a real estate agent. That is called an oil well, Okay. That is called an incredible source of business. And I would argue anybody to defend for me, if the dynamics of the relationship are set up properly, show me a lower cost, higher conversion source of buyers than a quality referral from a quality real estate agent. If one exists, I'm all in, right? I haven't found one yet. So that's why real estate agents, is because you get yourself in front of these people. And again, if the dynamics of the relationship are set up properly, you have a steady stream of quality, better qualified. I know it's a mixed bag and we can talk further about that, but you get in front of that and it's an oil well that simply produces every single month, that doesn't require you to do ad spend, doesn't require you to learn Facebook and all that kind of jazz and have to deal with massive amounts of leads that are poor quality and have a low conversion rate. So I just think, look, if my story was when I first started in loans was, back in 2003, had a, new baby at home, straight commission income, like first year sucked wind, terrible, did badly, and had to take a HELOC out on the house, right, to pay the bills. And my training program was, hey, Geoff, here's your box of business cards, go get yourself some realtors, right? I don't know if anybody can relate that's watching. If you can relate, go ahead, type in, 100%, whatever. But that was my source of training for realtors. But here's the thing that I realized was I needed to get in front of the maximum amount of realtors in the minimum amount of time, because I do know it's a bit of a numbers game, right? And so how can you do that at scale? You can do that by cold calling. You can do that by going to broker previews. You can do that by doing open houses. They all have their place. I did them all, right? The bowling events, the happy hours, whatever. Believe me, did it, 100. I could see manuals typing in 100%, Lisa 100, Loretta, yep. When the light went on for me, where I was like, you know what, if this is a numbers game and I simply need to reach and engage with more realtors at scale, I decided that, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to flip the script and I'm going to have the agents come to me. And I'm going to start hosting these educational classes where I'm going to put 10, 15, 20, 30 agents in a room at a time, even now over Zoom, right? And that's going to be my first meeting. And then all of a sudden I was like, holy crap, now I'm in control because they're coming to me. I get to qualify them, right? I reverse prospect. I don't need to chase, beg, borrow, steal. I get to choose who I follow up with or not. And all of a sudden I went from 0 to 50 in like 3 years, 50 million, I mean. And I was like, I'm never going back, never going back. So I don't know if that helps answer the question, but.
Oh, that definitely helps. What about the people that are kind of struggling? The people that we kind of talked about them before. Maybe they've been all hopped up on the refi boom. They've been not paying attention to their real estate agents. And now all of a sudden they're like, oh no, now I need to start to focus on this. And we tend to notice, and it happens, especially in the beginning when you're in a sales job. We've all been there before. It seems to do really well one month, not so good the next month, really well another month, not so good the next month. So is there a tactful way or any insight that you can give us to make that more on the trajectory that we are always increasing and we're not going through these cycles?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I see J. Scott Rutter 2 days into the business. Congratulations. That deserves a welcome to the business, my friend. I love that. He's putting a little smile in here. Jonathan Well is also two days in the business. Did you guys come through together? What? That's fantastic. So are you asking how do we get off that income roller coaster ride with the purchase business?
Yes.
Yeah, I think again, it goes back to you need a platform. Think about like, why do people run ads, right? Because they're looking for a predictable way to scale, to reach as many people as they possibly can, right? In a finite period, because they want to increase their conversions. How do you do that? It's the law of large numbers. Law of large numbers. Talk to more people, have more at-bats, you're going to convert more, right? Assuming your sales pitch and all that is good. So it's a law of large numbers. You simply have to get in front of more agents, but also not with a same as lame proposition. See, one of the reasons most LOs probably struggle with agent referrals is they show up like everybody else, right? With the same lame pitch, which is I got great rates, great service, like we talked about earlier. That's a problem. You need to show up with a different value proposition. Me, and by the way, as you know on the podcast, thank you for mentioning that, mortgagemarketingradio.com. I've now interviewed over 200 of America's top producers. And one of the consistent themes I've seen from them is they lead with education, right? 80% of them said they do agent classes in some form, be it CE or not. Be it just, educational, like just this morning before this call, I was talking to Michelle Castle. She's out of Texas. She's with Guild. If you're watching, Michelle, hey, shout out. She's a mega producer. She does 300 loans a year, right? Her number one platform for agent partnerships and referrals is classes. And so this is answering your question of how do I get off the income roller coaster? That's where I've seen LO struggle is, they'll do some effort, they'll get out, they'll make some cold calls, they'll chase, they'll get a couple of agents, and then they'll like work them through the system. And then they're like, okay, I need a few more. Let me go back out into the field and chase. And then you're showing up with a lame proposition, and then you've got no actual system. Marketing is all about like a system, right? And by the way, a great book you should read about systems is the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. It's all about the system is the solution, right? And so for me, what I did was put agent classes, as many other top producers do, put them on a system. I think of Nicole Rueth with Fairway out of Colorado, number one producer with Fairway, with their entire company as far as the team goes. She has a monthly class. It's called Agent Ignite. So every month you've got this funnel, top of the funnel for agents to come in and they go through your funnel. They get to know you, like you, see what you're about. You're sharing valuable information, which naturally, naturally attracts people to want to work with you. Right? It's the reciprocation thing. If I give you something of value, setting compliance and RESPA aside, something that's meaningful to you, right? That impacts your life, you're like, I feel compelled to like want more, right? To give back, to do something. And in our world, what that is, you know what? I learned so much by coming to your class. Yeah, I'll take your call. Yeah, I'll take your meeting. Who knows? There might be some potential here. Here's what you hear. No other LO is doing this. They're just showing up saying, I got grades, right? Give me a chance, all that kind of stuff. So it's about creating a system for classes where it is actually a marketing funnel for you. Cold calling, not really a marketing funnel in my mind, right? Mm-hmm. Going to open houses, door knock, all that kind of stuff. It's labor intensive. It doesn't scale well. What scales much better than that is you host a monthly class, be it virtual or in person. You're putting 10, 20, 30 agents in there every single month. That is your pipeline of real estate agents. Does that help?
Yeah. For all the people that are listening, though, that are overwhelmed by the idea of this, how can they get help in figuring out how to do exactly what you did?
Well, that's another great question, but I want to give a quick shout out to Andy Guerrero. Just ordered the book, Disrupt or Die. Thank you. High five. What else we got here? What was the book Geoff mentioned? Can we talk about the books? People are asking.
Yeah, we can talk about the book. Tell us about Disrupt or Die.
Here it is, Disrupt or Die, How to Survive and Thrive the Digital Real Estate Shift. If you want to get it, we will send a link out, but you can go to getdisruptordie.com, get it for free. It's getdisruptordie.com. Just pay shipping. And again, that's just for people who want to get the book. I see Siobhan says she loves classes. That's awesome, Siobhan. I'd like to know more. What are you doing for classes? How frequently? What are your class titles? Where do you get your content? All that stuff. All right. I've just loved engaging the live virtual audience here. Okay. So for people who are a little bit unsure or nervous about that, yeah. First of all, I 100% get it. Here's what you need to understand. You mentioned at the top of the show. So I used to be a sales trainer for Tony Robbins. I was, right? Went around the country and lived in a city for 2 months at a time and went into sales offices of people that I did not know. And I presented classes. Insurance, mortgage, stockbrokers, car sales, real estate, anybody who had a sales MLM, right? And I would show up and I would go and do this confidently all over the country. I switched to loans and I'm like, how am I going to go generate business? And all of a sudden I'm like, I'm going to do a class. And guess what? I'm nervous as hell, right? Because all of a sudden I'm new. I haven't done it in this context before. And you would have thought that would have been like, oh my God, you've done this hundreds of times, right? No, actually. So I'm saying that because first of all, I can relate and it's okay to be new and be nervous. Let me share a thought that someone shared with me, one of my earlier coaches. When I was going into these real estate offices, I was selling these back in the day, selling this high-end advertising solutions for real estate agents. They would pay like 10 grand, right, for this stuff. This is before the internet, people. It was all like direct mail and all that jazz, postcards and websites. And I'm standing there, I'm practicing the presentation one-on-one in front of my boss in his office, right? And by the way, this boss also used to work with Tony Robbins back in the day at Jim Rohn. If anybody knows Jim Rohn, shout it out in the comments. Jim Rohn, one of my favorites. Anyway, I'm presenting this and he could tell I'm nervous. He could tell like I'm got the dry mouth and kind of flubbing it up, whatever. And he goes, okay, so he goes, you seem really like unsure and lacking in confidence. And I said, well, that's because I'm new. And he said, how long do you want to be new? I was like, I had to pause, had to think about it. And he said, no, how long do you want to be new? It's like, it finally clicked. New is up here. And that's the whole vibe, and my whole energy was I'm new, which means I don't know what I'm talking about and I'm lacking confidence. And if you can make that shift that, first of all, you don't need to be the expert. Like I have LOs work with me all the time who are like going to do a class on a topic. Let's say it's YouTube. As a matter of fact, we had one of my people that I work with, her name's Janelle Poole. If you're watching, she's in Maryland. She went and taught a YouTube class to real estate agents. And she said the agents loved it. They came up to me afterwards. They want to book meetings with me and have conversations because they love the information. And then she said, you know what's funny, Geoff? I don't even have a YouTube channel. So when you realize that the pressure isn't on you to be like the expert and to have all the examples and be like, hey, Jonathan, how come you don't have a YouTube channel? It's no, they're there for the information and you're the messenger, like a nightly reporter, right? So hopefully that helps like deal with the newness, number one. But number two, look, the more you do something, the better it gets, right? Repetition's the mother of skill. And I shared my personal story because the more you get out there and do it, the easier it becomes. You're still going to be nervous. I have a class later today I'm going to do, and I'm still going to have some nerves. But that's a good thing because that's energy and that means you actually care. And I would just say, you know what? We can help you through that if you need more help with that. Real quick, Siobhan, I know your name, Siobhan. I've seen you. She says she used to sneak into Tony Robbins retreats in Maui and she did the firewalk. Love that. Love that. That deserves a... Wow! Yeah. I've seen Siobhan's name. She's a firewalker. Me too. Awesome. Craig Walker.
Sounds painful. Sounds very painful.
If you're wearing pantyhose like I was that night, yeah, it tends to. It's a whole nother story, though.
Is that story in the book too?
We left that one out. Yeah, sorry.
No, I really like that you brought that up. How long are you going to be new? And not only do I think that that correlates to people that are new, but people that have imposter syndrome as well. And I think that that all can kind of correlate back to that. And it's all just about practicing. And at the end of the day, you're always going to be able to teach someone something. You don't have to be this complete level of this expert. As long as you're one step ahead of someone else, you're going to be able to provide value and teach them something.
100%. And Al, shout out to you. Internal negative dialogue will kill your business. 100%. Round of applause for you on that, Al. Yep. More firewalkers. Look at this. Bill Schimmel, firewalker. Firewalkers unite.
Firewalkers unite. Well, you guys can all go in the comments and create your own little firewalker group. But I want to talk a little bit about how you're going to be able to help people here. I know there's a lot of people that want some more information on things. So tell them how they can get a hold of you.
All right. How many more minutes do I have? I want to be cognizant of people's time.
We're going to take questions after this. I would say we're going to try and wrap up here in like 5 minutes.
Okay. I was going to share some slides real quick. I can fly through it if you want. So 5 minutes or less, I can do this. I can do this. Come on. Super fast.
Do it. Take your time.
People love the visuals, you know? So let's go with some visuals here. All right. Let me finish out the question of, you asked why realtors. We address that. 6 million homes or whatever a year. 90% of people use a realtor. So why teach agent classes? By the way, here's the thing. Teaching agent classes isn't new, right? Oh no, it's not new. But that's the good thing, is it's one of those principles, the foundations that still work, but it's about how you do it. So why would you teach agent classes? Number one, it puts you in control. No chasing, no begging, no pay to play, no co-pay leads, all that kind of stuff. Agents now come to you. As I said, number two, reverse prospecting. Who doesn't love that, right? If you love cold calling, go for it, Terminator, right? If you don't, then this is a different way, a better way perhaps, to have agents come to you. You have a strong value proposition. I could tell you, we could spend an hour and I could tell you about stories of LOs who have taught classes and that attracts agents to want to work with them. A broker's in the room and they're like, hey, would you come teach this to my office? And there's an in-house lender in the office. So your value proposition is totally reversed, right? It's refreshing. It's different. The guard comes down. You have a greater impact with people because of the value. You're reaching more people when you're in front of 10, 20, 30 agents at once. So everything's accelerated. And by the way, if you know my book, right, Disrupt or Die Digital, it's about driving the online and offline, right? And combining the two. It's the best of both worlds. It's not one or the other, right? You can use the online, have your Zooms and stuff like that to drive people to your classes, or vice versa. I have people who do classes in person. They drive them to Zoom meetings, consultations, right? And see if there's a fit or not. So it's whatever you want to do. It's all about having more agent conversations. Let's put it that way. And so I don't know what system or plan you're using to have agent conversations right now. I know classes isn't for everybody. That's cool. But the more conversations you can have, the more relationships you'll build, which means the more referrals ultimately you're going to get. Okay. And by the way, why else should you teach agent classes? You ever heard the thing called success leaves clues? It's what top producers do. I told you before, right? Our friend Dan Keller, we know Dan's been teaching classes for years, right? Shashank Shakar, he came to this country with like a few dollars in his pocket. And if you hear his story, he started his business teaching classes, right? And now he's in the $1 billion club, okay? I could go on and on. I mentioned Michelle a moment ago, 300 loans a year. She's doing classes. My buddy Chris Kogel at Movement Mortgage, check this out. They're his number one source of agent engagement and referrals. He closed 102 loans for $20 million, all from teaching agent classes, okay? So, hey, guess what? Why don't you take 5% of that, okay? Like, you don't have to do 20 million. What if you only did an extra 5 million from classes? What's that worth? An extra 50 grand to you? All right. Well, how else are you going to get that? You know? So, and I could go on and on in terms of like, you know, students that I've worked with. My friend, love Michelle Odo, $134 million plus last year. It's her number one source of staying in touch with, to your point earlier, Megan, your point earlier about staying in front of agents and continuing to add that value. That's how she does it. Okay. So anyway, I could go on and on and on. Let me stop the share here for a minute. I'm sure we got some questions brewing up. Why do you do it? It's a better mousetrap. Right? It's a predictable system, puts you in control. It changes the dynamics of the relationships, changes the value proposition, and it's a proven system. So there we go. Questions?
Let's see who has questions. Put them in the chat box right now. I see a lot of people are ordering the book. That is great. Yeah.
So I see a couple questions coming in as well. Where do I get certified to teach the classes? I like that. I'm going to put this in the link right now if I can. I'm going to put a link to my calendar. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm putting a risk. I'm putting my calendar out there in front of all the world to see. Okay, here we go. I'm going to push the button. There it is, myagentclass.com. If you want to learn more about this, like Al's asking, where do you find the content? Where do you get certified and all that kind of stuff? If this is of interest for you, this is one of the things I do. I have a platform where I help loan officers teach classes and a whole soup to nuts system of how to get butts in the seats, of do it online, offline, coaching you on presenting, using the marketing, the follow-up. I have 15 different classes right now. And as you heard me say a moment ago, I'm in the field teaching these classes every week. I did one yesterday, another one today. Like every month I'm doing 5 or 6 classes. So these are all from me in the field, proven, and then we tweak them along the way. So whether it's Instagram, personal branding, how to get your offer accepted, YouTube, Instagram, social media, business planning, you name it, we got all the classes, and we'll even help you with funnels and all that kind of jazz. So if you want to learn more about that, you go to myagentclass.com, schedule 30 minutes on my calendar. We'll see if it's a fit for you. I don't know.
And I just want to plug MBS Highway here as well, because I know a lot of you watching obviously are MBS Highway subscribers. Under the marketing tab, we do have Presentation Expressway in there as well. So you have a bunch of presentations that are done for you. There's a coaching video of either myself or Barry presenting it. And all of these are just really great places for you guys to start.
Amen to that. Armando's asking, am I in Vegas? Yes, Armando, I am in Vegas. Are you coming? Who's coming to Vegas next week, right? See.
Yeah, well, I'll be there.
Yeah.
It'll be a great time. And keep telling us if you guys are going to be in Vegas. We will pin Geoff's calendar link up there. We'll post that again so that you guys know where to go. Make sure that you go ahead and get the book. And before we close out here, I want to leave you with the final word to our audience.
Let's go. My final word to your audience. Real quick, Amon, however I'm pronouncing that, are they CE classes? No, they're not, but I have my people get them CE approved individually in each state. So, all right, final word to the class. First of all, guys, I just care about you so much because I'm one of you, because I was an originator in the field for over 10 years in Southern California. I know what it's like. And that's why I do this. It's really a passion project. So first of all, I'm an advocate of you. And it's just a thrill to have the opportunity to even be here, Megan. So thank you for that. But I would say the final word is, guys, whatever you do, just remember your own self-worth. You mentioned imposter syndrome earlier, Megan. You just got to know that, I guess I'll go back to what I said earlier, whether you're new or not, just know that you're valuable, and you don't need to put up with anything that isn't aligned with you and your values. Working with referral partners, dealing with crap in your business, whatever, and just get clear on what's really most important to you, and then devise a plan, to go about it. That's it.
Get clear, get a plan, and know your worth. Absolutely love it. Couldn't have ended it better myself. Thank you for everyone that tuned in to today's Facebook Live. And of course, thank you, Geoff.
My pleasure. We'll see y'all. Take care. Bye-bye.